Hey, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby Flay. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you're watching or listening in from. And today you might notice I am not sitting in front of my computer. There is no Coinigy, there is no on-chain FX. I'm actually sitting in my kitchen right now with the TV in the background and all that good stuff. But tonight, rather than doing a crypto happy hour and drinking during that, I went to Whole Foods, snagged myself a little bit of a boneless ribeye, and figured, why not go on Twitter, ask you guys some questions, and as I'm cooking this steak, which I will cook to absolute perfection because I am a better chef than Bobby Flay, you just throw crypto in front of my name, but as I'm walking through myself cooking this steak, I will take your Q&A from Twitter, go through that. So I am calling this Crypto in the Kitchen. This is either going to go really, really well, and I'm going to cook a beautiful steak and somewhat show you how while answering crypto questions. Or at the same point in time, this is going to go really, really bad. I'm going to burn a $15 boneless ribeye, and it's not going to go well. So I guess we'll find out. I was going to call this steak and shitcoin or steak and shill, but I think Crypto in the Kitchen might be a little bit more appropriate. But let's go into it. All right, so let's hop into the good stuff, the Q&A, and then I'll get into how to put together this incredible meal to impress your husband, wife, girlfriend, brother, sister. I don't give a shit. But hopping into it, shout out to jbags86 on Twitter. He said, interested to hear your perspective on what an economical collapse would do to the market of cryptocurrencies. We saw in the most recent correction it had a negative effect. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Will it take a crisis to drive everything in a certain direction? So my thoughts on this are essentially this. If there is let's say a stock market or equities crisis, or there's a major market crash in the United States and globally, I do think that will have a negative effect on the price of crypto assets for the most part. I think for the most part, when you're looking at crypto, these are speculative assets. And if people do not have extra cash on the side, they are not necessarily going to allocate as much or perhaps any of that into the world of crypto assets. On the other end of the spectrum, though, if you're looking at crises, if there are currency crises like we're seeing in Venezuela or like we're seeing in a couple other, in Turkey or some of these other places where the inflation rate is going nuts, the value of the currency is essentially devaluing by the day, I do think that potentially would be a massive push forward for something like Bitcoin, perhaps some of the other cryptocurrencies out there that are trying to be payment currencies that might be a little bit more stable than the local currency. But for that specific scenario, if it's a currency crisis, I think that would have a positive effect on specifically Bitcoin and maybe some other assets. If it is a global market crisis, I think that would be a negative for crypto because I don't think people will invest as much into a speculative asset if they are unable to pay their mortgage and if they're losing their houses and if their 401k is down 50%. But that's my overall thought. So getting into what you care about, obviously here, not the stock market, not cryptocurrency, but this beautiful food we have laid out here. So we got our Brussels sprouts and we have a ribeye steak. So when it comes down to it, I don't really know how to make a food video, but these Brussels sprouts right now, basically what you got is Brussels sprouts from Whole Foods, chopped up with a little bit of olive oil, and then you have the spices of life that really make all the difference. You got sea salt, garlic, paprika. Paprika is the best thing on the planet Earth, and ground pepper and some olive oil. And then with this beautiful bastard we got right here, this little bit of a ribeye steak. So boneless ribeye, almost close to a pound. I'm going to eat the whole damn thing because why the hell not? But because it is a solid, like USDA prime boneless ribeye, just salt and pepper on that bad boy. So, all right, so we got the Brussels sprouts in the oven, getting those ready to roll, throw them in a 400 and burn the shit out of them because they taste a lot better that way. Got the steak sitting out. I let the steak sit for like 15 minutes, kind of get it to temperature so it goes to a nice medium rare. But shout out to Crypto Redneck for this question, and it is blockchain phones, yay or nay, long-term thoughts. And my opinion on blockchain phones, at least the ones that I've seen so far, they don't look much better than an Android phone with a ledger attached to the back of them. I'm not incredibly interested in blockchain phones at all. It's not something that I necessarily see as a massive value add yet. Maybe in the future, but there's like the Siren Labs, a couple other companies that are trying to do these blockchain phones, and I simply don't see a massive need for it. I would rather just use, personally, whether it's just an iPhone or a Samsung, Android, whatever it might be. I simply don't see a massive need that I'd really want to store cryptocurrency on my phone and have like a separate portion or partition of the phone that is like a blockchain type phone. I'd much rather just sit here and drink whiskey, because if you don't do that when you are cooking, then what are you doing? And then also, big thing to note as well, if you're drinking whiskey, this is bourbon in specific, but if you don't have a big ice cube in it, you're not doing it right. The bigger the ice cube, the better it tastes, so it's facts only. Hey, whatever. Another good question, and this is from Q on Twitter: why are you so pessimistic about the market in general all the time? And as far as things go, I don't really think I'm that pessimistic. Yes, I make negative jokes on Twitter. Yes, I throw cold water on a lot of things. Yes, I say, similar things like that on YouTube as well. But when it comes down to it, I think, at least for me personally, it's not all hype. It's not all hopium. Everything's not going to the moon. And there are a lot of people that think that like everything is going to be fantastic and this is going to be some world-changing thing and everything is going to be the best thing on planet Earth. And for me personally, I have my money where my mouth is. Like I have a good amount of my own personal assets in cryptocurrency, but I also think that it's irresponsible to like just push this hype, hopium, everything is going to the moon narrative. Do I think that crypto assets will most likely, and hopefully the ones that I hold, most likely be worth more next year or 6 months from now, next year, 5 years from now than they are right now? I hope so, because that's in many reasons why I'm holding them. But at the same point in time, do I know that for a fact? And do I also, and will I feel guilty, or not necessarily guilty, but will I feel some bit of sadness if somebody goes out there and buys a crypto asset specifically because I say buy this now because it's going to be worth so much? Yeah, I would feel bad about that. So that's why, for the most part, I'm not like overly optimistic about everything, because I think that sometimes you need the cold water, and sometimes it's irresponsible to be the person that is just throwing hype and hopium everywhere just to get people riled up and happy about this stuff. All right, guys, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Throwing the steak in the pan. And no, I don't have a full-on grill, live in New York City. So the grill that's on my building is electric. And if you can guess, an electric grill actually tastes far worse than cooking in a pan. So I'm going to pan sear this ribeye, because why the hell not? So I'm going to throw this bad boy in here. Let's see what's up. And as this baby is cooking, I will answer this question. So this is from Coin Immunity. In your opinion, if there are some wallets with hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, taking into accountability the lost ones, could Bitcoin reach the predictions everyone talks about when there won't be enough for some heavy pockets to grab some? So, that's something that a lot of people talk to on a consistent basis is, hey, there are only, I don't know how many millionaires on the planet, but there's a lot of millionaires on the planet. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. There might not even be enough Bitcoin for every millionaire. I don't remember the exact statistic. But when you take into account the lost Bitcoin, which is a pretty significant portion, I believe it's over Chain Analysis and a couple other companies have run statistics on the lost Bitcoin before. So it is a pretty significant amount of lost Bitcoin. When you take into that account, what does that mean? I think part of that's already priced into the market. Like there are companies out there like Chain Analysis that have already done that type of research. So hey, it is what it is. But when you're talking about the levels that people are talking about, it comes down to whether Bitcoin can fulfill one or multiple of the use cases that a lot of people talk about. Can it be digital gold? Is it going to be accepted as this like worldwide reserve currency? Is it going to be digital gold? Is it going to be peer-to-peer electronic cash? We don't necessarily know, but obviously with the limited supply and the known inflation percentage, it does make for a compelling argument for the valuation to increase, especially when you consider all the hash rate and all the good stuff behind it. And apologies too, when you're looking at this, and you can hear this bad boy sizzle as well. I'll take the microphone out. That's just wonderful. And as I'm cooking this thing, you got to know it's medium rare, because there's only one way to cook a steak, and it's medium rare. And hopefully, while doing this video, I don't somehow mess that up and cook it like medium, because that would break my heart, especially because I'm going through this whole process. So if it is medium at the end of this, then you know what? I got to roll with it. All right, so this bad boy's about ready to get flipped over. And again, trying to go for medium rare, but trying to get it nice and crispy on the outside. A little nice sear, but that's what it's all about. So let's see how the hell this looks out. Oh. Yeah, that's a boner on a steak. So as far as things go with the next question, though, hopefully you can hear it over the sizzle because I'm sorry, but I'm too busy just cooking a perfect steak. But shout out to HP Maxer on this one. Heard that some well-known exchanges don't list new ICO coins at the moment due to bad market conditions and not to get associated with being a dumping ground. Any thoughts or insights? So my perspective on that, I don't necessarily know if that's the case for these exchanges. I think these exchanges are hurting just as much as some of these ICO projects. And I do think that, if it comes down to exchanges collecting listing fees versus potentially being, a quote unquote dumping ground for new ICOs because of bad market conditions, I personally think that they might try to go for the listing fees. So I don't necessarily know if that's the case. First time I've heard that, but definitely an interesting point of view. I know I'm biased, but god damn, is that a good looking steak. And I mean, hot tip for anybody, and if you don't know this, you can't call yourself Crypto Bobby Flay, but if you're cooking a steak, I don't care where you're cooking it, you better let that thing rest for at least 5, maybe closer to 10 minutes. I usually go with like 8 minutes or so. Gotta let this bad boy rest, let it soak up the juices, let it come to temperature, let it finish cooking. But hopefully, and we'll see because I'll cut it open, and if it sucks, then I'm going to be really ashamed of myself, and there's a possibility I overcooked it. Who knows? But we'll have to see exactly how it looks when that goes down. Still got the Brussels sprouts in the oven, like I said. I like to burn the hell out of those things. Taste much, much better that way. And going back into some of the questions here now while I'm staring at this beautiful steak, somebody said... Shout out Jason Williams, but most boneless chicken wings ever consumed. What Satoshi? So I know there's a big debate on this too. I mean, I could take that over here, but boneless versus bone-in wings. I mean, I personally like both. I think there's a time and place for both. I had half a dozen buffalo chicken wings yesterday. They were not boneless. Sometimes, I mean, you guys know me. I like buffalo chicken wraps. Big buffalo chicken wrap guy. When it comes down to that, I love me. There's obviously not bones in the buffalo chicken wrap, so I think there's a time and place for everything. But I mean, I don't usually go for that many. I mean, maybe I've had like 15 or 20 at a given point in time, but I'm not like a massive holy shit eater. All right, folks. So steak's been rested for a little bit. Gonna dive into it, see what happens. If you're not cutting it with a massive knife, then I don't know what you're doing. As far as the lighting goes, it is what it is. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm not a food photographer. I literally am just making this shit up as I go. As I'm cutting this, hopefully this is actually good. I'll actually start in the middle and make sure, but we'll see. Oh boy, yep, it's pretty decent. I'll take it. Maybe a little bit more on the medium side, but yeah, medium rare. Could be better, could be worse. But as I'm cutting this, going into the proliferation of stablecoins, somebody had mentioned specifically on stablecoins as a whole, what the hell the deal is with stablecoins. Obviously, there's been a ton of them recently. Tether is the biggest one out there at the given time. But when it does come down to it, I am pretty interested in seeing how the migration potentially of something like Gemini USD, Circle's USDC, Circle's coin, Paxos, if they steal a significant amount of market share from Tether. I think a lot of exchanges seem to be diversifying themselves away from Tether. And I do think that there is a use case for stablecoins. Do I think it is somewhat counterintuitive to the cryptocurrency ethos as a whole? Yeah, I kind of do, but it is what it is. So it'll be interesting to see how the proliferation, as was phrased on Twitter, don't forget the username, but how the proliferation goes. I do think that Tether is going to continue to lose market share as there's more kind of worries about Bitfinex and about a lot of these other issues around Tether and Bitfinex, the relationship, their banking problems, them jumping from bank to bank. And I do think you're going to see more exchanges and more people migrate from stuff to like Gemini and Paxos and Circle's USDC. So it'll be fun to see how that pans out. So we got the Brussels sprouts out from the oven. Like I said, you got to kind of burn them, got to make them a little bit crispy, but these things, Brussels sprouts, for the most part, I think most people think they suck. You throw salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, and a shit ton of olive oil on them, and they're going to taste fantastic. It's even going to make the worst of your shitcoin woes anytime they drop 5, 10, 15%. It's going to make them go away, and it's going to make a fabulous accompaniment to your ribeye steak. All right, guys, well, there you have it. The first and potentially last ever episode of Crypto in the Kitchen, because I have no idea before editing how good and or bad this was. But if you, for some godforsaken reason, actually enjoyed me cooking steak and answering Q&A, would love for you to hit that subscribe button, hit the notify bell so you get these videos as quick as possible. Outside of that, I'm going to eat this, edit this, and get down to it. Peace.